Hi, I'm Adam Smith, Congressman who represents the 9th District, and pleased to be here today with LaNesha from the African American History Museum in Seattle. LaNesha, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely, Congressman Smith. Hello, you all. I am LaNesha DeBardelaben, President and CEO of the Northwest African American Museum. We're located in the historic Central District of Seattle, and we're just honored and delighted to be here with you, Congressman Smith. Thank you for inviting us.
That's great. And tell us a little bit about how the museum got started, some of the functions it performs, and for the purpose of this initial sort of outline, in normal non-COVID times, sort of what you do and how you came to be part of it as well.
Absolutely. You know, African American museums are such pillars throughout America. The first Black museum was established in 1868 at a historically Black college, Hampton University. And ever since then, Black museums have just been institutions that are important gathering spaces for communities to come together, to learn how to become our best selves using Black history, art, and culture. And that's just what we do at the Northwest African American Museum. We are housed in the historic Coleman School building, which has just significance to the Black experience in Seattle Central District. We opened in 2008. We have a mission to really bring a greater understanding, appreciation, and awareness to just the beauty and the profoundness of the Black experience here in the Pacific Northwest. We just believe in changing our community, our region, our nation, and the world through anti-racist education, through inclusive history, and through the power and the beauty of the Black arts. Black lives are Black lives are the reason why we're there, because we honor Black lives, we celebrate Black lives, we commemorate Black lives, Black leadership, Black brilliance, and Black wellness. And so we focus on three areas. We focus on advancing justice and equity, on cultivating educational empowerment, and on centering and celebrating the Black arts and Black artists. Education is at the core of who we are as a museum and what we do. And so we have a variety of exhibitions and educational programs and family-centered experiences. We bring authors and artists, performing artists, and all kinds of thought leaders to engage with the community. Because at the end of the day, we're about improving the quality of life for all in our community and all in our region, and enriching life for all.
That's great. And obviously this last year has been, unlike any other. I guess, well, every year is unlike any other to one degree or another, but this has been, incredibly tumultuous and life-changing for a lot of folks. And as I mentioned, certainly we've got COVID, but also, the Black Lives Matter movement that has grown in prominence, the murder of George Floyd, the protests, and really, a more serious examination of systemic racism in society and the history of racism in our society. And obviously, as you just explained, the mission of the Northwest Black History Museum, right in the middle of what you guys have been doing for a very long time. How did that experience of the last year, as this became much more of an issue that more people were aware of and talking about, how did that affect what you do? How did you sort of take your experience and use your connections and your strength, as you just described it, to be a part of shaping that movement?
There is a saying that in the darkness, light shines the brightest. And our mission really elevated itself to extreme significance over this last year, because we are an institution that strives to dismantle systemic racism. We use education to help equip our community with the tools to interrupt racism and systemic oppression and bigotry. And so we were just inspired to see a movement to critique and to challenge and to resist injustice and inequity. And we were a part of that movement through our educational work. And so what we did in July of 2020 is created a program called Knowledge is Power, because it is. Knowledge is power. And we literally took our reading room, because we were closed for COVID, we took it outdoors. And we began to create pop-up experiences and pop-up NAAM, a NAAM presence at the marches and throughout the region and the community, giving out, distributing free, new, beautifully illustrated African-American children's books on those who came before us, those activists and protesters and freedom fighters, and those who stood for Black liberation and the liberation of all people. Those who came before us, we need to know their stories. And so we created this program called Knowledge is Power, where we're giving out cultural literacy books and tools to help individuals to understand that they're standing on solid ground, they're standing on broad shoulders. And so our Knowledge is Power program has been phenomenal. We've been giving out close to 1,000 books a month at these pop-up encounters. And we're just delighted that our mission as an African American museum is most essential in times like these, because it's all about awareness and informed action.
Yeah, you said something in the comment that we've heard a lot, term anti-racism. And I think there's a general viewpoint that a lot of people have. Well, I'm not a racist, so I'm not part of this conversation. But as you know, it goes a heck of a lot deeper than that. Can you talk a little bit about, from the Northwest Museum's sort of standpoint, what does it mean to be an anti-racist and actually teach people how to live their life in that manner?
There are so many stories of individuals who grow beyond their biases, grow beyond their misunderstandings and their miseducation. Carter G. Woodson, back in 1933, wrote a book called The Miseducation of the Negro, is what he wrote. But there is a miseducation that so many of us experience in our lives. And growing beyond, learning beyond that misunderstanding, that lack of having the full story, is what anti-racist education is all about. It is about turning to a higher consciousness, a consciousness that fuels us with the courage to stand up, speak out, and act for justice and equity for all. It's not enough to just know. We have to have the courage to do, to correct, to confront, and to come together.
Absolutely. I just, in my role as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, we worked over the last couple of years, but successfully this year, on the issue of so many of our military installations and then streets and buildings on those military installations were named for Confederate generals. And as we confronted this, there were a lot of people who were like, well, it's acknowledging history. But if you go back into the history of it, you see that the monuments, and not just on our military installations, but elsewhere, were by and large built in the early 20th century. And I think one of the more, speaking of history, if you go back and you read some of the speeches given at the dedications of these things, it is clear that they were built to affirm, reestablish white supremacy. You had the end of the Civil War, the end of slavery, the failed effort at Reconstruction, and this was white supremacy rising again. So when you have these, buildings named for these people, it is a celebration of slavery and white supremacy. And if you think of it that way, you know, get rid of them. There's no debate, but so many people don't understand that history. And that's but one example of just hundreds of things that, as you said, miseducation, misinformation about what's actually happened, and why I find the role that the Northwest African American History Museum plays to be so crucial in our society and our community. So you've answered this a little bit, but obviously COVID has changed all of our lives. And now that we can, speaking of lights and darkness, there is a light at the end of the tunnel here, hopefully. How has that changed the way you interact with the community, and what are you hoping to accomplish as we get back to a place where we can open up and get just sort of more normal interaction going again?
We have not slowed down because of COVID at all. We have simply pivoted everything to a virtual platform and to our outdoor programming. Our mission is too important to slow down, to stop. So we have simply persevered, and actually we have been thriving through COVID because of the tremendous support that we have received for our programming and for our initiatives. And so we've taken everything online, from our award-winning Dr. Carver Gayton Youth Curator Program, to our Interrupting Privilege program, to all of our book club programs, our youth programming such as Black Santa. We moved Black Santa online, Congressman Smith.
Sorry, I did not get the chance to see that.
Yeah, everything has been online. Our Kwanzaa, even our King Day. King Day is the single busiest day of the year for any Black museum, including for NAAM. And so we simply moved that to an online platform, and we were able to, we've been able to see an increase in attendance. Folks are able to tune in and engage with these virtual programs. And what we've not taken online, we've taken outdoors, such as our new Knowledge is Power program. We have held other programs outdoors. Our partnerships are growing. We've been working with all kinds of new partners, continuing partners. One interesting program is that we will be holding an outdoor Black opera movie drive-in concert outdoors in partnership with the Seattle Opera and at the Museum of Flight in their parking lot. So we've just been innovative. We've been able to create new experiences that continue to fulfill our mission, that engage our community, and that it's all about that anti-racist education. So we are committed to ensuring that our community remains safe in the midst of this pandemic. The virus was just out of control for a while, and we just want to keep individuals safe. And so we will be committed to remaining steadfast with our virtual and outdoor operations until it's extremely and clearly safe to come together again.
Well, and I thank you for that. I think that's, one of the things in working with, whether you're talking about, schools dealing with how to educate children in this situation, businesses to open, to close, how do you protect your workers? A whole lot of people just like you in leadership positions have had to make, quick adjustments, difficult decisions, make sure you protect people and still fulfill your mission, still do your job. So thank you for that. I think you've done an outstanding job of making that happen. So, That's basically what I wanted to know. I guess we wanted to tell us a little bit about your background. How did you come to be involved with the Northwest African American Museum?
Well, Congressman Smith, I have been in the museum field for about 20 years now. I was planning to be a high school history teacher, history and English, and happened upon um, a museum position while I was abroad in Kenya, Africa. And it changed the entire trajectory of my career and life. And when I returned back to the United States, my mission was to drive success for Black museums, and have been in this field since then, and previously worked at the nation's second largest African American History Museum. It's located in Detroit, and I came here to Seattle just over 3 years ago in 2017, and have just um, loved this this museum and this community and this mission. And we thank you, Congressman Smith, for nominating the Northwest African American Museum for the nation's highest museum award in 2019, the IMLS National Museum Service Award. Thank you for that honor.
Well, you have more than earned it. You're an incredibly important part of our community, and we're lucky to have the museum, and we're also very lucky to have you here, giving us your leadership. We really appreciate that. It's strengthening our community and making it a better place to live for all of us. So thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate the chance to talk a little bit, and your leadership, particularly in Black History Month as well. Every month should be Black History Month. It's history. You don't need to designate necessarily. You need to recognize all the time. So appreciate at least having the opportunity to bring some extra focus on what you do. And as soon as it's safe, I'd love to get back out and see you guys again.
We look forward to having you back with us. Thank you. And we know that the Northwest African American Museum is a gem in the cultural landscape of our region. We take such delight in engaging with our community and with our region, because we are moving toward having a NAAM mobile, a van that will take our programming throughout the entire Pacific Northwest. And your leadership, Congressman Smith, really inspires us to do what we do. So we thank and we applaud you and your team for just representing our region and supporting us.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we had a chance to talk this morning. Look forward to continuing to work with you. Thanks again for your leadership. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. It was great to see you.
Thank you. You as well, to you and your family.